You're about to listen to a man gush about a bank robbing game like it's peak game design. It isn't. He's just very passionate about it and has a lot to say.
When it comes to Payday, I'm a nut. I've put hundreds, if not thousands of hours into the second game alone, but there's something missing from the picture. For a game that's still popular today, almost 10 years after its initial release, why don't people talk about the first game? Why do people talk about Payday 2 but never mention Payday the Heist? Well, it seems a little redundant since most of Payday 1's content has been added to the second game. All the heists are here, so what's the point of even going back to the first one? I'm here to answer that question. Payday 1 has a few mechanics that I think benefit the game so much more compared to its sequel.
They just keep coming!
Payday 2 has a lot of characters, like too many. So, what happens if you have this many playable characters combined with a previous mechanic of all the characters acknowledging the mission they're in, each other, special enemies, and in-game events? You have to cut some stuff out. Because Payday the Heist stuck with only 4 playable characters, the interactions between them are great. Each heister has so much to say during missions, and it adds a lot of immersion and character.
Okay, we got the vault to the left and the server room upstairs to the right. Bank manager is not in his office. There's the manager.
In comparison, I feel like a lot of the heisters are significantly quieter in the second game, which I'm not a fan of. A lot of the time, any contextual information is given to you either through Bane or Locke, and that potential characterization is lost.
Guys, the thermal drill, go get it!
Shut up!
In Payday 1, heisters will comment on each other and what's going on in-game.
Come on, lads, keep it up!
They'll even give advice to each other, which we don't see much of anymore.
Someone, pick up the extra can of thermite!
Each heist is jam-packed with dialogue for each of the 4 characters, and it adds so much personality between the missions. They're scared when you're scared.
Shit! They're everywhere!
They're excited when you're excited.
Get the bags out! Get the money!
Sometimes they're prepared.
Cops are on the scene.
Sometimes they're not.
And they can see through the smoke with that thermal sight! Whatever comes at you, shoot it!
These interactions will change usually between heists depending on the current situation or how messed up the plan has become. I feel like this focused in quality over quantity really helped when developing these characters. They're all distinctive and work really well together. That's why they're the face of the game. Their interactions are great and they're very fun to play as. Also, for some reason, Shanes is a different voice actor in this game. It makes him sound like a drill sergeant.
You got a fucking death wish? Don't fucking test my patience!
You hear that noise?
One of the biggest aspects of what makes Payday so great is its music. Simon Viklund did an amazing job scoring the first game and a good chunk of the second one. Payday 1 goes for this grungy, super loud, distorted feel, which I think was executed very well. You couldn't choose your music in this game, so each song was tailor-made for each heist. I remember not being able to change your music in early Payday 2, but I think it switched between tracks at random. At least later, if there was a track specifically made for a heist, they'd highlight it. However, there's just something almost perfect about the dark atmosphere, loud sounds of gunfire, and distorted music blaring in your ears from the first game. I think the distortion plays in part to the amount of loud and crazy shit that's going on around you. It adds to the urgency.
Yeah, I got it here with your name on it, sunshine!
Sounds like one of the songs in jam.
A lot of inspiration for Payday 1 was taken from the 1995 movie Heat. Payday is no stranger to references, but because this appeared in the first game, it seems more impactful. It seems like Heat was one of the foundations of Payday, down to the bank speech and some of the music.
We want to hurt no one. We're here for the bank's money, not your money. Your money is insured by the federal government. You're not going to lose a dime. Think of your families. Don't risk your life. Don't try and be a hero.
Listen up. This is a robbery. We want to harm no one. We're after the bank's money, not yours. Your money is insured by the federal government. You're not going to lose a dime. Think of your loved ones. Don't try and be a hero.
The bank music is almost a carbon copy. Heat was a very loud and explosive film, which I think is why it made a great fit for Payday's atmosphere. That's probably why Overkill took so much inspiration from it. Even in Payday 2 with certain masks and heists, they still show their homage to the film. But back to the music. Payday 2 around its release had a similar music tone to the first game, only this time it was more focused on electronical elements. They were more of a jack-of-all-trades soundtrack, which is great for some, but in my opinion kinda hurts the tailor-made sound that the original game went for. These tracks are amazing, but they weren't really fit for singular heists. As time went on, Payday 2 had many different new heists and many different artists along with the music, which meant that the harsh, abrasive tone was sort of lost along the way. That gritty sound was sort of fizzled out. While I do appreciate new talent, I feel like Simon Vicklin's original vision was skewed as time went on. Him leaving Overkill didn't exactly help either. A great point of comparison between the two games are the tracks that were remade for Payday 2 by Vickland himself. Some are better in 2, some are better in 1, and it's interesting to see how Vickland sort of revises his own view of these heists through music years later after the fact and years into Payday 2's life.
Here we go again.
Oh, the gameplay? The gameplay's pretty much the same, only Payday 1 I feel has more oomph to it. Maybe because the weapons in that game actually feel like they're doing damage. That's another thing about Payday 2, the weapons. There's too many. While I really enjoy the selection, it makes it hard to balance, and there's only a select few that are actually viable for the most part on higher difficulties, unless you're willing to skew your build significantly for it. Also, Payday 1 and to some extent the beginning of Payday 2 focused on less enemies and instead made them more powerful. Or at least that's what it seems like. That's why Bane will sometimes comment on how they're deploying a single bulldozer or a group of cloakers near your position, because it's like a big event. I prefer the style of play over the endless numbers of enemies in Payday 2. Don't get me wrong, Payday 1 has a lot of enemies, but it's just that Payday 2 it feels like you're getting swarmed in comparison. In Payday 1, there's more time between police assaults, which gives you time to catch your breath. It's realistic. Payday 2 might as well not even end the assaults because they just start up 5 seconds after anyways. This gives the assaults in the first game more impact in my opinion. I also like how the heists are radically different from one another. Even though this game has only 9 heists in total, they're all unique and have a lot of replay value. While they're different, they still have a cohesive tone between them, which we'll go over later. Events like a SWAT van crashing through the house in Counterfeit, or the Panic Room being lifted up in Panic Room, always gives us evolution in the heist you're playing as it goes on. Level layouts can change quickly, and combine that with the extra tough special enemies, and you'll always have to be on your toes. This game does a great job of creating tension.
I don't hear anything. Maybe sunspots?
Payday 1 is a lot more serious than the sequel. Relating back to the music, both it and the game have this harsh feel that makes what you're doing seem monumental. You're going up against this fierce opposition in what seems like almost impossible odds just for a payday. That makes it all the more satisfying when you do reach it though. Even so, the characters are right there with you, often giddy with excitement.
Payday! Holy crap!
Payday 1 has less difficulty options, which means that moving up between them is a huge step. Even normal difficulty is difficult. Harder difficulties require teamwork. There aren't exactly any one-man armies like you can have in Payday 2. That makes it more serious in my opinion. While the heists can be pretty out there, they don't really hold a candle to some of the missions and collaborations in Payday 2. At least in the first game, the situations were somewhat grounded. Somewhat. Things like Goat Simulator and Ethan and Neil Klein as playable characters in the second game just don't exactly sit right with me. Now, I'm not saying you can't be goofy, I just wish Payday 2 would have picked a tone and stuck with it. They seem to bounce back and forth between serious crime drama and lobbing goats out of a window. Also, I just prefer the more gritty and serious themes of the original, but that's just personal preference. All of these added together is consistent. Payday 1 has better consistency. It has a clear theme and characters throughout. It doesn't take up more than 75 gigabytes on my hard drive and runs a little better because it's not bogged down by everything. I still love Payday 2, but sometimes I wish it was more consistent over the years. But maybe that change is what caused Payday 2 to have such longevity in the first place. Who knows? It wasn't the microtransactions, that's for damn sure. What I am happy about though is that maybe because of these changes we're seeing Payday 3. Hopefully it'll have better characters and a clearer tone. Regardless, robbing banks with friends will always be fun.